people want to defend stupid things and engage in stupid behaviors when other people present bad and passionate arguments against those things. This is something I've been thinking about more and more, and I've mentioned is just how the most convincing people, the easiest way to adopt an ideology is to engage with or, discover people online that are pushing stupid ideas that seem to be in the opposite direction. But the problem with that, where that leads us individually and as a society, is that we then can't see things clearly. We base our worldview, we base our ideologies, we base our decisions in a way of railing against something that might make sense to be against whatever that is, but that doesn't mean that the act of railing against it is coherent, logical, the most beneficial for your emotional well-being. I think that's sort of the crux of sort of everything that's going on in our society. There's a lot of bad arguments, there's a lot of bad faith actors, there's a lot of manipulation, there's a lot of, what is on my face? There's a lot of selfishness, right? And that can lead a lot of people to become misguided in a lot of different directions. And the reason why I was thinking about this right now is in relation to, I was watching Brett Cooper. And if you don't know her, she was with the Daily Wire, and then she left due to whatever, some sort of conservative controversy. Who knows? Who the fuck cares, right? But it's like she's this like brand of like, I'm the cutesy conservative. I'm the cutesy conservative brand. And so she's talking about OnlyFans. And it's like this mixture, I'm getting this mixture of thoughts and emotions, because on one hand, she makes some good points. On one hand, she's talking, so somehow, I don't know if this was, I wasn't paying full attention, but if she's marketing guns or something about Second Amendment rights or whatever, it's something, it just has nothing to do with it, right? But it's just like, that this person is not someone who, at least I wouldn't see as, okay, this person is really grounded in quests for truth. It's that this person is, I don't know if this is the right phrase, ideologically captured, right? She's that, wherever the OnlyFans philosophy could lead someone, she's already gonna start at the very beginning. She's gonna look for evidence on why it's bad. And even if the conclusion she makes might be correct, and she certainly does make plenty of points that I would agree with along the way that I think are valid, I wish as a society we could be less interested in people who are ideologically captured, which is, I guess, probably most people, it seems. Now, I don't know if it's most people means 60% or 90% or how many people really are willing to have conversations and be genuinely open-minded to actually start at the beginning of a philosophical or moral question and see where it leads, as opposed to starting with the conclusion and then looking for evidence to back it up. But anyway, so just as far as like the OnlyFans type stuff goes, it's almost like there's too much, almost if you took any side of that, right? Your OnlyFans is great, there's nothing wrong with it. OnlyFans is terrible, it's the beginning or continuation of the degradation of the moral fabric of society and relationships, and Here's how it's harmful to men and women in different ways. So there's, in either direction, there's like too much passion, and in that passion, while passion itself is not proof of sort of being illogical or morally bankrupt or hypocritical or whatever, any of the negative things, passion itself isn't proof of that. I think it does generally tend to lend itself to that, right? Because where do I believe the truth is on, let's say, the OnlyFans debate, as far as, the philosophy and moral righteousness or lack thereof of selling provocative content on the internet. And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, in terms of, one, that if something is not something instinctually that you would want your children to do, there's probably a reason for that. And it's not just, it could just be, you could say, oh, maybe I'm just kind of culturally brainwashed. I've just been indoctrinated to think something is wrong when there's nothing wrong with it. But in a lot of cases, it's not really that. Your intuition is telling you something meaningful. And so, because I've noticed a lot of people will say, yeah, this or that thing is not bad, but no, I would not want my kids to do it, right? It's okay for other people's kids to do it, or not kids maybe, but whatever. You get the idea. Other people can do this thing. It's like people that are like legalize all the drugs, man, whatever. Now, I wouldn't do any of the drugs, but they should be legal. Now, we could have a debate on how much the government should legislate morality or living the good life or whatever, and that's maybe a separate topic in a way. But there's some sort of inconsistency that people have there, I would say, in some of these issues, where they want to promote the freedom to do things that they think are very harmful. Or not even just the freedom to do things, but almost implying that kind of a to each their own thing. And while I think that's a valid mindset to have, of like, live and let live, let's not be too controlling. Certainly we don't need to, we don't need more people in the prison system, right? I think we've done enough of that in this country. I think we need to kind of slow that down, to say the least. We also don't need to act like certain things are harmless, that we intuitively know are harmful. So where am I going with this? The point is like something with OnlyFans. If I was a chick, and I could do OnlyFans or whatever, and I was in a situation where I really did look at the landscape of job opportunities, and it was like being someone's like being a barista, working at McDonald's, or you're saying, let's just say you're someone who is, you haven't set yourself up for a very obvious career path, and it's a difficult path to get there, and it is for a lot of people for a variety of reasons. And so you have limited options, and yes, maybe you're not stuck at just being a barista, but at best you work your way up to be a sort of corporate slave in some way, where you sell your soul and you're not doing anything remotely meaningful, or you don't feel much dignity or purpose in it. But sure, it pays you a bit more so you can get by, compared to a sort of minimum wage service job. Now, those different options are also life-sucking, degrading, spirit-killing, and so on. And so, while I think there's a lot of truth to the ways that something like OnlyFans can be degrading to both men and women in different ways, it sort of preys on people's sort of natural instincts for wanting love and their sexual needs met and all that, and it kind of warps it in a way. And I do agree with the argument that it can affect people's ability to actually have meaningful relationships and positive sexual outcomes because of the ways porn can warp their perception and people's and how it can affect people on both sides, the consumers of porn and the producers. And so I don't need to rehash all the arguments that are probably out there for that are kind of obvious in a way. I think a lot of them, but what's less obvious is we can find some exceptions, right? There's some exceptions where it's like, yeah, probably not the best to, if you really have very simple and easy pathways to a meaningful, fulfilling career, yeah, you probably should go in that direction rather than the OnlyFans one. But it's not, it does become less obvious for people that feel trapped with limited options. And I think what troubles me is that we could get lost in the weeds of debating some of these things. And I think that's what's happened a lot in the political landscape. Of course, I've mentioned in many videos is sort of, you get into these culture wars and all these things, and really who it's served at the end of the day, it is like the 1%, right? It is the real war, if there was one. It's class war, right? And what people really care about, for the most part, at the end of the day, whether you're black, white, gay, straight, trans, whatever identity marker, at the end of the day, what most people truly care about is they want to have a nice place to live, they want to have healthcare, they want to have their needs met, they want to be able to afford maybe to do some things. They would like to be able to afford to not be trapped actually in the miserable, whatever it is, 40 to 60 hour work week that, you live to sort of watch sitcoms on the weekend. They'd like to be able to have enough money to escape that, right? So that's the real battle. And that's something that's tangible, that doesn't matter what your identity, markers are or whatever. It's an experience that everyone can relate to and that people could unite on and talk about. But yeah, what's gotten lost is this sort of, how do you feel about guns? How do you feel about trans people in this bathroom? And if you get caught up in that, and if you start, you have too much passion about any of these sort of I'm going to call them side issues, and then you don't necessarily have a lot of wisdom or grounding or even an ability to understand the other side's position on some of these cultural issues, everyone just gets sort of wrapped up in that. Because there's actually, what there is out there is there's a lot of people who aren't, and I'm not saying on all sides, I really believe this, that aren't particularly insightful and bright, but very passionate about their opinions and their moral fortitude and their superiority and all that, right? And so in that, what gets lost is the obvious. The obvious that people want to have their basic needs met to survive, to be comfortable, to be able to enjoy life, and to not live a sort of glorified version of slavery.